Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teamwork A Better Way podcast. I'm Christian Napier, your host, and I am joined, as always, by my amazing co-host, really the captain of this ship, Spencer Horn. Spencer, how you doing?
Wonderful, Christian. Thank you for that great introduction. So good to be with you. And I couldn't do it without you, that's for sure.
Well, I'm happy to be your cruise director on today's voyage, Spencer.
Thank you.
I love the Paisley shirt, but I have to ask you, how was the long weekend?
It was great. Jana and I celebrated with, we had lots of kids. We had all of our children except for two that are in Florida. And we celebrated with fireworks, just a little elementary school right behind our house. And we just were like very few people. And everyone was up at the fireworks. And we just had so much fun. And then everyone came for dinner on Sunday. I got a call from my son last night who said he was in Florida for fireworks and they had a scare. Somebody thought there was, unfortunately, there wasn't a shooting, but they thought it was, and people panicked and called to let us know that it was okay. So it was a little bit of a scary day yesterday.
Wow. Well, I'm just hopeful that everybody is okay and that nobody got hurt from the fireworks or otherwise.
No, everyone was fine. I mean,
Good.
Yeah.
And as for us, we went on a little hike in the morning up Big Cottonwood Canyon up by Silver Lake by Brighton, and that was great. And then we spent the afternoon with our daughter and son-in-law, and then had a barbecue with my brother-in-law and his family in the evening. And so yeah, it was really, really nice to relax a little bit.
Oh, that is wonderful that you got to do that. And what a beautiful day for a hike.
Yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous. It was in the 50s when we were out there, and it felt really
Yes.
great. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was awesome. And speaking of awesome, we have an amazing guest. I'm super looking forward to getting to know her better. So, Spencer, why don't you go ahead and introduce our special guest today?
Absolutely. I'm going to bring her on. We have Nathalie Plamondon-Thomas. And you know what? I met her while I was in Canada. And she lives close to the Vancouver area. And she is a confidence expert. And so I'm excited because actually just the other day, Natalie, when I had a WhatsApp message from somebody in Poland that I know, incredible woman leader, and she's like, Spencer, what can I do for more confidence? And I'm like, listen tomorrow. So I'm so excited. But she's an 8-time international best-selling author, Christian. She was the 2021 Canadian Presenter of the Year. That'll give you some confidence, right? And she's an expert with a proven system to get you transformational results. And she works with people who want to find confidence so that they can unlock their potential, which is really the title of today's podcast, Confidence to Unlock Performance. And we'll obviously tie that into teams, but we need leaders of teams in order to unlock that potential. So there's the tie-in. And she also works with entrepreneurs who want to find clarity. They need to make the money and a living with passion and for their passion. And she's, as I said, a #1 international bestseller of 15 books on success. So I think she knows a little bit about it, and she has, which I want to ask her about, her experience with, communication, wellness, empowerment, neurosciences, all kinds of stuff. She's the founder and CEO of Think Yourself and Academy, the Think Yourself Academy, and offering leading edge online courses and one-on-one coaching and business mentorship, along with the past. There's no way that you've been doing this for 30 years, Natalie.
I started when I was 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. And so you've been in the fitness industry, which is a great foundation for a lot of the confidence and probably the system. She's been a fitness instructor of the year for Canada. Please welcome, audience and Christian, Nathalie Plamondon-Thomas.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much, Spencer and Christian. I'm so excited to be on your show today. I've already had a good time. I love your little chat at the beginning. Did you see that some cities in the state did drone shows instead of firework?
Yes, we did, and
Cool.
that may be a trend in the future.
Yeah. Anyway. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. Maybe the
I'm
next.
actually excited to bring in, Canada Day was July 1st, right? Is that
That's right. So we also had a long weekend at the same time. For us was the Friday, for you was the Monday. So yeah.
right? And so we all have this independence celebration, and I actually want to bring in a little a thought when we talk about some ways to build confidence from our one of our founding fathers, which we'll talk about here. But so what I want to ask you is tell us a little bit about how you got started in this field. What took you to study the neurosciences, when background of fitness, and how did you get into this whole confidence and think yourself mindset and that academy that you've created?
I guess it all started with our own negative self-talk. So I'll take you back when I started to speak professionally. So I um, 12, 15 years ago, I needed a video done. So I hired a cameraman. We had three cameras, one for the close up, one, for the wide angle, and one behind me from the back to see the large audience. Now, the problem was, Spencer, that there was only 20 people in the room. So we kept asking people to move from one segment to another so that when we put all the from one section to the other. So when we put all the segments of the video together, it looked like there was a large audience, and it kind of worked. Like this video got me my first paid speaking engagement. I got a call from an organization. They wanted me to train their sales force, and they asked for my rate, and I'm like, I didn't have a corporate rate, right? So I go, 250. I had no clue. So they say, okay, so for the 4-hour training, that would be 1,000. I almost choke because I meant 250 for the whole thing, right? So I go, yes, that's correct, $1,000. So I got the contract, and when I hung up the phone, I should have been thrilled, but the truth is, I felt like a fraud. See, I was hearing this voice in my head telling me, "What? You're not a real professional speaker. You don't deserve $1,000 paycheck for an afternoon. Like you want to be a speaker, like in English? You don't even speak English. I'm French, right?" So the voice was telling me, you want to write books in English? It's never going to work. Like, you're not good enough. And that's when I realized I needed to change that voice in my head, because it was not helping me at all. And we do that. We trash talk ourselves all the time. Like, you don't walk around telling people, "Hey, you look fat in these jeans. Huh? Oh, you want to start your business?" No, it's never going to work. You're not good enough. We don't say that to people, but we talk to ourselves like that. So that's when I decided I need to shut down this voice in my head. It is not helping me. So I spent the last decade studying neuroscience, created a system. That's the system I share in all my books, on stages around the world, and on one-on-one coaching with my clients.
What a great story. And I was just laughing. I had muted myself. I was like, but it's so true. And it's that imposter syndrome. I actually named that voice, and I called him Captain Insano. And I don't know if any of you are listening watched The Water Boy. Do you remember when The Water Boy's like 30 years old and he watches that wrestling, and Captain Insano's his hero? So he called in, and Captain Insano, "That's so cute." And he says, "How old are you?" "I'm 30 years old." And he just started laughing at him, right? And so that's that voice that laughs that I named whenever I feel like I can't do it. But
Yeah.
it's so interesting, and you are probably worth so much more than that $1,000 yet. But that belief is so real.
Oh yeah, back then I had no idea how much to charge. I actually charge so much more now. I hope none of my clients are listening to this thinking that, what, I could have gotten her for $250.
Oh, geez. Well, hey, hopefully people who are listening will pipe up. But this is from Enrique Azwaje. I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly. Yeah, and he's saying, he's talking about you on this excellent team today. So, Christian, I'm sorry, I've been hogging all the airtime here. Throw it to you.
Oh, well, I find this totally fascinating because although I haven't named in Captain Insano, I mean, definitely that voice exists in my head. But for me, it's like it seems to me like everyone around me is so confident, but I don't feel confident about myself. And I'm curious, in the research that you've done over the last decade or more, since you somehow were able to consciously say, "Hey, this weird voice is talking to me," what are some of these key findings that you have found in your research that contribute to this to this self negativity, this self doubt, this imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Um, Research actually shows that 70% of our thoughts are negative. That's kind of scary because we have between 50 and 80,000 thoughts per day. So if you break this down, it's 31 negative thoughts per minute. It is huge. We do trash talk ourselves quite a bit. And the problem is these thoughts, they go straight to our brain, and our brain makes it happen. So your captain, I call it your personal assistant. So let me talk maybe a little bit about the brain. I could go for an hour on the prefrontal cortex. That's one of my favorite part of the brain, where we panic and we freak out and all this. But today, let's just stick with two other parts. So the logical mind and the unconscious mind. Okay, so your logical mind can handle 5 to 9 things at a time. So that's cool. You can multitask, right? So that's this voice in your head that you hear. And it's quite restricted, actually, because 5 to 9 things at a time is not that great after all. So yes, you can go grocery shopping now at the same time that you're on a meeting on your earphone, right? On your AirPods, on your phone, and then you keep your kid from falling off the cart with one hand, you grab a can of soup on special with the other hand, and still you notice the guy at the back of the store that's smiling at the girl in blue in the seafood department, and then you can do all this at the same time. But let's say you're driving to a new address, and it's a beautiful day, the music is on, and windows are down, and you start getting closer to that new odd address. So you look at the numbers on the houses. Have you ever caught yourself having to lower the volume on the radio? Right? Have you?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Right?
I need to focus. That's right.
When you're driving, like all of a sudden, how is lowering the volume on the radio going to make you see the numbers on the houses better? It's because 5 to 9 pieces of information is not that great after all. Because when you have the foot on the brake, the foot on the accelerator, there's the red light ahead, the kid that's about to cross the street, the lady that might cut you off, and then there's a dude in the car next to you winking at you, gross. So when you add looking at the numbers on the houses, the music becomes the one too many. 5 to 9 is not that great after all. Living at a logical level is like this. You're trying to do everything right, and as entrepreneurs, and when you're working in a corporation, you've got this dream, you want to move up to CEO, or you want to build an amazing business. So you get up at 5 a.m. and then you see clients all the way till 10 p.m. You still have to take your kids to school and sport in between your meetings. And you have to start a podcast, and you have to post on social media, and you have to check your finances now because there's so much inflation. And the harder you work, the more exhausted you feel. And you have zero life balance, and you feel like you're getting farther and farther and farther away from your dream life. It is like you're trying to go to New York City, but you're in an aircraft that's flying to Los Angeles. You can work as hard as you possibly can, but you're never going to get there if you stay in that aircraft. So a lot of my clients come to me and they say, how the heck do I get out of that aircraft? And I say, no, stay on the aircraft and talk to the pilot and say, hey, bud, do you mind turning around? That's where I want to go. Imagine how fast you will get there once the pilot is on board, right? So that pilot is the other part of the brain, the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind can handle 2.3 million pieces of information every second. I'm going to say that again. The logical mind, 5 to 9. The unconscious mind, 2.3 million pieces of information every second. That is where the power is. And that unconscious mind is your pilot. And I call it your personal assistant. So your personal assistant is writing down everything that you say or think, and it makes it happen. So Christian, you were asking in your findings, what did you find out is that 70% of our thoughts are negative. Therefore, 70% of what we tell our personal assistant is we tell your personal assistant negative stuff, and it makes it happen. So people wake up in the morning, they look at themselves in the mirror and they go, I'm so tired. I'm so stressed out. I think I'm gaining weight. Right? So then your personal assistant writes it down. Stressed out, tired, gaining weight. I got this. Stressed out. Oh, I know. I'm going to make her delete something on her calendar that's really, really, really important. So that's going to be stressful. Check. Tired. Oh, I know. I'm gonna make her stay awake all night. So hey, she's not gonna be able to sleep. She's gonna be really tired in the morning. Check. Gaining weight. Oh, that's an easy one. I can find a chocolate bar, something deep fried for her to eat today. And if all fails, more wine tonight. Check. So your personal assistant listens to all these thoughts and makes it happen. So we have to be so careful.
Yeah, so powerful. The and the unconscious mind, that personal assistant. I've also heard, Natalie, that it's actually programmed. You say it's 70% focused on the negative, partly because it's programmed for a survival mechanism, right? Because if some of those lies that we are telling ourselves, or even the bad news that we hear, is true, then we want to avoid those things that seem scary or problematic, just to keep us alive, so to speak. So we tend to believe the negative first before that positive, because if it's true, then it could save our lives. Now that's the problem, is Captain Insano sometimes lies to me.
Yes, yeah, Captain Insano does not lie. Captain Insano reproduces the neural pathways that you've connected the most often. So if you've seen
Yes.
neural pathways, they're all like little branch with small little membranes like this that connect
Dendrites.
single dendrites. Yeah, the dendrites. Oh, you know your stuff. So when I do podcasts, I don't use the fancy terms because I don't want to lose people. I speak common language. Anyway, so the dendrites connects, and then every time that they connect, there's multiple choices. There's many different possibilities, right? And as infants, we have so many more possibilities, neurological connection that can happen as we lose them when we become an adult, because those who are never connected, we will lose them. They won't create a synapse, so they won't connect any farther. Like the more you connect them, the more often they connect, the stronger they get, and then they create a synapse, and that's the one that stays, and all the others are getting forgotten. So that's why babies can learn 52 different languages if they were using these connections. The problem is you don't lose the connection that is unuseful or that is negative. You lose the one that is not used, and you keep not the positive one and the best one. You keep the one that are repeated the most. So if as a parent you tell your kid, don't be stupid, then stupid is the one that we will retain. Even though we say don't be stupid, we have to tell
Yeah,
our
brain doesn't understand that don't.
exactly. So if you tell, like my clients do this all the time. They tell me, oh, Natalie, I don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to be rushing everywhere. I don't want to be impatient with my kids, and I don't want to be broke. Stress, rush, impatient, broke. I got this. So your personal assistant just writes it down. Now close your eyes for a second. Unless you're driving, because I know a lot of you are probably loving the Teamwork podcast and you're listening to this while you're driving. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. But everybody else, close your eyes. And now with your eyes closed, do not visualize Mickey Mouse wearing a yellow tuxedo standing on top of a pink Mercedes Benz. Do not visualize Mickey Mouse wearing a yellow tuxedo standing on top of a pink Mercedes Benz. And now you can reopen your eyes. You saw it, right?
Of course.
Even if I said do not, because your brain processes the whole information before you can even negate it. And by this time, it's too late. It's already on the notepad and the personal assistant has written it down. So we have to be very careful what we think all the time. And whatever connection will happen the most often, even if you tell your kid, don't forget your lunch or don't fall, right? Like, you go, don't step in the water, we tell people what we don't want, so then their brain processes the actual word, and it's fascinating how just this knowledge of how linguistically what we say is so important. If you catch yourself, and I'll give you a two-step technique closer to the end that your audience can use to immediately interrupt this pattern, this thought, so that you can move on and change what you just told yourself inadvertently, right? Because we do
Well,
that.
That's right. And so that leads us to, how do we then talk to the pilot? How do we get them how do we get ourselves going in that right direction?
Exactly. You have to say what you want and not what you don't want. So somehow um, the the pilot is constantly listening, and we have to tell your personal assistant exactly what you want. So you have to use positive words. You have to always rephrase and ask yourself, what would you like instead? So if somebody tells you, um, don't forget to bring the finance report tomorrow at the office, and then you just heard that and you say, oh, forget, what do I want instead of forgetting? Oh, I want to remember it. That's what I really want to do. You have to say what you want and not what you don't want. That's very important, because let's say you're programmed, and I will use this example coming from the fitness industry and knowing that during the pandemic a lot of people gained a few pounds, or you might know somebody that has told you they wanted to lose weight. It's a topic that has been very popular for the past 50 decades. Okay, so everybody's always know about this topic very well. So let's say you're programmed to believe that exercise is hard, or you have this limiting belief that when you lose weight you always gain it back, right? A lot of people believe that, or that they hate exercise, or that healthy food doesn't taste good, that they don't like healthy food, right? They like junk food much better. So all the things that are connected to health. And somebody is programmed to believe that. But let's say they start exercising and it's actually making them feel really good. So they're starting to like it. So they start eating well and it tastes pretty good after all. So now they're starting to like healthy food and they're starting to lose weight. Their personal assistant goes in panic mode. And now the personal assistant, I don't understand. I have this on my list here. They're supposed to hate it. They're supposed to hate healthy food, to hate exercise, and they're supposed to be overweight because they keep repeating every day that they're fat. So I have to do something about this. I'm not doing my job. What can I do? Oh, I know. I'm going to make them fall on the sidewalk. So then they're going to hurt themselves. They're not going to be able to train anymore, and they're going to gain the weight back. Check. Whew, I've done my job. So your personal assistant will make sure that what you've programmed in there happens. So it really goes against you if you even start to divert into something else and something that's good. So that's why people have a lot of setbacks, because they start, they're gung-ho, they're all excited, and they're like, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build a career for myself. And then, oops, they have this setback that brings them back. It's like one step forward, two steps back, because the personal assistant will win over you. Personal assistant will always win over you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's great. I cut you off on that great thought. I thought, oh, that's a great spot. But when I mountain bike, and I've been talking about this for years. If I look at the rock, I'm going to hit it. Instead, I have to look where I want to go. Same skiing. If you're going through the trees, you have to look where you're going, because you will always run into that rock if you're not looking for where you want to go. So,
Yeah.
Christian, I know you got lots of thoughts here. So,
All right. So how hard then is it to reprogram this pilot? Because we have spent a lifetime programming it. Right. I'm 55 years old. I've spent 55 years programming this thing, and the weight thing is just really, that's spoken to me. So so okay, yes, I have to use positive words and talk to myself, but how long does it take to reprogram that pilot? Because that pilot is really stubborn, because I've been telling this pilot to go this way for 55 years, and now I want to go that way, but the pilot doesn't want to go that way. So as you work with your clients, you know, how much effort and time and energy does it take to reprogram that pilot? I suspect it's probably different for each individual, but you know, I'm
Honestly,
looking
it
at it and say, I want to reprogram this pilot, but I'm a little afraid that, oh my gosh, the pilot might win out because he's been doing it so long this way, and I might not be able to get him to turn around.
Well, you are correct that you may not be able to reprogram it because you can't really do that by yourself at a logical level, because that process is not a logical process. It has to happen at an unconscious level. That's what I do. So there are 6 different layers of the brain that we need to reprogram in order to be successful. And when I work with, and then I will go farther into this topic, when I work with PTSD, with army vets, with people that have been abused, with even people that had traumas that happened to them in their childhood, they're now 50 years old, and still it is affecting them. If you know anybody that has been in the army, and you don't need to have been in a house on fire or at war in order to experience PTSD. A lot more people do have PTSD than we think. So I work a lot with these people. I have a 5-hour process. So how hard is it for me? I'm trained. It takes me 5 hours. After like 3-4 sessions, 5 hour total, that's it. There's no more flashbacks. There's no more, and it is proven by science. Now the government, the Division of Veteran Affairs in the United States is now funding the RTM protocol, the reconsolidation of traumatic memory. So that's the specific process I'm talking about for PTSD, is now funding this for war vet, because it's been proven scientifically that it is working. No medicine or no drugs. So that's a really cool update for science. So we're very happy about that. And we've just trained about 24 new RTM protocol practitioners in Ukraine now to work with people over there. So this is really, really exciting stuff as well. Now, there are many other processes that I use if it's not a if it's not a trauma, if it's not PTSD. Sometimes it's just a bad habit. So there's other processes that I use for that. So for me, it doesn't take that long, but it's like I'm a dentist and you're saying, how long does it take for me to remove my cavity by brushing my teeth? I'm going to brush my teeth really, really well. I'm going to floss. I'm going to do my mouthwash every day. And how long will that take? Well, if you have a cavity, you need a dentist, and then they'll do the filling. And then you continue to brush your teeth and floss, and you'll be able to avoid further cavities. But you kind of need the tools. But today, and now I don't want people to listen to this to say, oh, that's it, I'm doomed now. I absolutely need somebody to help. Not necessarily, because there are ways. It's just going to take a little longer, but there are ways that you can do a lot of things by yourself. And I'll give you a technique. It's a 2-step technique, not 5 hours, not 89 steps. It's 2. Here's what you do. You catch what you just said or thought in your head, because you've probably heard of affirmations. I don't know, maybe Spencer, Christian, have you talked about affirmations on your show ever, or is it something?
Absolutely, yeah. You want to state an intention for an outcome that you want to have in your life. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I'm sorry to say this, but affirmations don't work if you don't believe them, because most of the times there's too big of a disconnect between what the person really wants and what they are at. So if I
so true. And one of the things that happens, Nathalie, is we feel like if there's not a big change, that we're not our goals aren't big enough, right? And we actually talked about this, and so we actually create a gap between that affirmation and our reality, which exactly leads to a challenge in confidence, because we fall down on the sidewalk, as you talked about. So, right?
Exactly. So what happens is that, let's say I work with the Think Yourself Wealthy program with clients that are in deep financial struggles. So we need to work on the limiting belief that we have about money before we can start making money. So there's a lot of your parents probably told you money doesn't grow on tree, or you have to work hard for your money, or when you make more money you spend more money, so you always live paycheck to paycheck. And there's all these limiting beliefs that we have. We need to get rid of all of that. And I needed to do that myself before I was able to make serious money, because I've always been good at making money, but I was really good at spending it. So that was the problem I had. Now, I just had to get rid of those limiting beliefs that I had about money. So what if I work with the Think Yourself Wealthy program? Client is deep financial struggle. It's not going to work if I say, okay, smile, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am rich. Your personal assistant is like, what is she talking about? I'm not writing this down. No, we're not. Like, oh, we must be watching a vampire movie. Vampires don't exist. That I'm not writing this down. That's not for me. Or the Think Yourself Thin program. Clients are highly overweight. It's not going to work for me to say, okay, put your hands on your hips and say, I am thin. Well, their brain goes, no, we're not. What is she talking about? I'm not writing this down. So first step of the two-step technique is to attract your personal assistant attention, right? And is to put that thought in the past. You talk about it in the past with I used to. Okay, so step number one, repeat it in the past. So you're hearing a thought in your head, oh, I'm so stressed out all the time. Then you catch yourself and you say, oh my gosh, I was on the Team Word podcast with Christian and Spencer, and then I heard this French Canadian girl. She could hardly speak English, and she told us that we had a personal assistant, and now I just told my personal assistant that I want to be stressed out. No, scratch that. So you're going to say, I used to think that I was always stressed out. You say it in the past. So now your personal assistant's like, oh yeah, stressed out. I got this on my list right here. You're talking to me. What can I do for you? Now, why are we talking about this in the past? Are we done with this? Aha, perfect. Now we got their attention. So step number two, you're going to use a progressive statement. A progressive statement starts with, I am willing to learn, or I'm in the process of, okay? So I'm so stressed out all the time. Wait, I used to think that I was stressed out all the time, or I used to be stressed out all the time. Now I'm willing to learn how to create a balanced life. Or now I'm in the process of becoming more calm. Or my generic one, now I'm willing to learn how to change that. Because that's generic, it works for everything. Now I'm willing to learn how to change that. So repeat it in the past, and then progressive statement, I'm willing to learn how to change that.
Love that so much. I mean, it's that small success that helps you to bridge that gap. And this is, I was going to tell you that this is one of the things that George Washington actually did. He lost battle after battle after battle. You know, we were talking about against the greatest army ever. And then when he crossed the Delaware, he took his army, marched 9 miles. 2 people froze to death on that march. But on Christmas Eve, they had a very, very small battle that they won at Trenton, New Jersey. And that gave the soldiers who had lost and lost and lost and lost enough confidence to go win a second battle at Princeton and to hang on. And it was against unbelievable odds, but he knew they had to have a small win, not a big battle, not a big win, but a small one. Sorry, I had to pull in the, Independence Day celebration.
Perfect.
All right, I have a question because this is a teamwork podcast. So let's apply this in a team context then. So I have this internal battle going on with myself, and I'm trying to change my pilot and get my pilot to go in the direction that I want it to go. And then in a team context, I may, or our company may have, on purpose or inadvertently, I'm dealing with a set of people who have their own sets of pilots, and now I've got to get all of my people flying in the same direction. So can I use this two-step technique with my team as well, or will I face some doubting Thomases in there? And if I do, how do I overcome the doubts that might be in my team so that I can build confidence in my team members that we're heading in the right direction?
So there's a few things that we can address here. When it comes to corporations and teams, very often we use what we call the meta programs. The meta programs are our internal drivers. They are what the the meta programs are like mini systems in our brain that control our thoughts, our behaviors, our emotions. They control other systems in our body. So you've heard of different meta programs, you just didn't know it was called like that. You know that some people are detail oriented, some people are big picture. So you understand this, like you understand that some people are in time, some people are through time. So that means that some people are always late because they're really present wherever they are, so they're late for the next thing. And some people are through time, so they're the one that will arrive super early at every meeting, and they're always thinking about what's next. Some people park right at the door of the place they're going, and some people park by the exit, right? Because they're just thinking about what's next, thinking, well, when I leave the movie tonight, I'll be close to the exit. So everybody has their own internal driver. There's over 60 internal drivers, 60 meta programs. I work with about 14 in corporations, and we do a value interview or a meta program interview just to see what are each person's, these 14 or 15 meta programs and their criteria, what's important to them and how they are. And then we see how the team matches. So once you know the language of the person, then you're able to understand why this person is so resistant to change. It's because their decision factor is sameness, while your decision factor is differences. You like change, but some people don't like change. They like to repeat the same task over and over, and they're really comfortable with that. Thank goodness, because their job is kind of boring and they have to do the same thing over and over, like people doing payroll or people like they have to redo the same task over and over. So perfect that their meta program is sameness, because that's what they do. But when you change the payroll system on them, of course they're not going to like it, because they don't like change. So how do you deal with that to make them step on board when you're facing that change? Is you tell them things like, well, the sooner you will learn the new program, the faster you will be able to get back into your routine and being able to do the same thing. And once we've learned that step, after that, it's always going to be the same, and we're always going to be able to repeat that. Or you make them so it's a system, right? Because some people like options, like to have many different options. Those are the leaders, the creators. They like to create the system. And some people just want to follow a process, a procedure. So they're not options, they're procedure. You want to say it's this, then it's that, then it's this, then it's that. So the way you talk to people is if you follow their own meta program and what drives them, because they like to have a system, then people that don't follow you because you're giving them too much options, then just create a system for them and then you follow, and you don't present to them all the options. You just say, step number 1 is this, and that's all we're going to be focusing on right now. Now, the second piece, so the first part is the meta programs. The other part is to understand that we have 6 layers of the brain. And I did mention the DNA system a little bit. That's a system I created using Robert Dilts' neurological levels. So those 6 layers of the brain. When you want to make a change in a team, you have to make the change in all the 6 levels. So the first one is the environment. So you want to make sure that everyone in their environment has the tools that they need. So that's the base. So you need everybody to have the tools, and the people around them as well are part of the environment. So do they have access to people to help them? The behaviors are the things that we do. So what are the specific tasks that everybody needs to do? This is all basic stuff. Then you get into skills, which is the third level. The third layer of a person's self is the things that they do that they are really good at. So now we're talking about skills. Most people stop there and they forget the next 3 layers. They tell their employees, they give them tools, they give them trainings. We're going to take a course on this so that you become really good. So it's going to go from behaviors to skills. They're going to become really good at that. And then they keep training their task force into all these trainings and they become really good. But then there's 3 other layers that we need to address. The next one is beliefs and values. So what's important to them? What's important to you? Those are the values. And what are the beliefs? And there's very often a lot of limiting beliefs that we need to get rid of in order to be able to move forward. And the next piece is the identity. So layer number 5 is, who are they when they say I am? So, and I'll give you an example after this, so then you'll understand each layers. And then the 6th one is the purpose. So why? Why are we doing all that? Now, beyond yourself, once your identity is, I love myself because my beliefs are supporting me and I'm doing what's important to me. And I'm good at what I'm doing, my skills. And the behaviors that I do them in an environment that supports me, and I follow all the criterias. Once I'm at that stage, then I can go to level 6 and I can reach my purpose. Beyond myself, who else am I serving? So let's take the example, because you mentioned about people that wanted to lose weight. They are exercising and they're eating well. Those are behaviors. Even if you hire a personal trainer and you become really, really good at exercising, that's a skill. And that's what we do in businesses as well. We teach them to be really, really good at what they do, and they're skilled. But then let's say that they have a limiting belief that they will always gain the weight back. If you try to fix a belief with a behavioral solution, exercising and nutrition, it's never going to work. You have to fix the belief in the belief level, not in the behavior level. Or you have a identity problem, the I am. Every time you say I am something, I am fat. They repeat that to themselves every day. That's that identity. You can't fix that with a behavioral level, with exercise and nutrition. Or somebody that says I am not good enough. It's not going to work to buy an expensive truck or a big house or designer shoes. That's environment. You cannot fix an identity problem with an environmental solution. So we have to address every single level, and we have to make sure that we fix the beliefs, we fix the identity as well. And that's what I do in corporation. Yes, I speak. I'm a speaker and I do a conference. Yes, I do trainings, but I mainly, when I'm the most useful is when I do the one-on-one with the CEOs, with the VP, with the leaders of the team. Because if they have limiting belief, we need to get rid of that. So I would come to an organization, I would do a keynote for everybody, and then I do specific workshop, like the Think Yourself a Sales Pro, Think Yourself a Leader, Think Yourself a Relationship Pro, Think Yourself Confident, Think Yourself Healthy. So all the little workshop for smaller teams. And then one-on-one with the CEOs, and we do 3 or 4 sessions with each. We get rid of what's holding them back, because if they were backstabbed at their previous job, well, their ability to trust their team now has been kind of tainted. We need to get rid of that, because that's a past trauma that is not serving the team right now. So we need to get rid of the stuff that's holding them back. Or even sometimes they just have personal problems. If you can't talk to your teenager, or because you're going through a divorce or substance abuse or whatever is your problem, you're living at home, you don't leave your problems in the car, in the parking lot before entering your job. You are bringing them to your workplace every day, and that is really affecting the bottom line of the business. So a lot of corporations have understood that, and then I get to work one-on-one with people to get rid of this, so then they can really be at their best when it comes to doing their job right.
Such great information, Nathalie. You know, one of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking about teams and you know, the different meta programs, I have found in my work that there are actually leaders. Now, there are some leaders that have those meta programs that are resistant to change, and they have some ideas that, you know, they don't want to ever fail. So they're not the choice people that love the choices. They want everything to make sense, and they happen to be in a leadership role. And so they're afraid of failure, they're afraid to have the wrong answer and to take risks. And so helping them to, in that leadership role, go through this, really taking a look at their values and the I am statements are so important, and to become marginally more comfortable with letting go of perfection and being okay with failure and learning from that and realizing you can be okay. I mean, I can see that being applied very, very effectively. So I'm just grateful to you. I have one more question, and then I know Christian will have some. So someone's gone through your DNA program, they work with you, think they thought themselves confident, they thought themselves well. How do you balance confidence with humility? And as a leader, I think we have we have to we work by the good graces of the people who stay with us, right, and who fight with us, so to speak, metaphorically speaking. And no one wants a tyrant, man or woman, in any way. And sometimes we when I work with a lot of people, they struggle with, they have this personality that for them to be this confident, they think aggressive, they think aggression, they think, and I'm like, no, yeah, and that's not it. But how do you balance the idea? First of all, it's not aggressive, it's assertive. How do you balance being an assertive individual and leader with also being humble and listening and realizing I'm on a journey here? And you're talking about a mindset of I'm becoming. I'm not I'm not just affirming that this is where I am, but I am becoming, and maintain that throughout your life. That's my question.
So when we're looking at confidence and arrogance, there is a very fine line between both. And we have to make this line as thick as possible so that we don't step on one side or the other. It is, confidence can potentially be perceived as arrogance when the confidence gives permission to the ego of the person to talk about themselves. And that's really when confidence would be perceived as arrogance, is when the person talks about themselves and only listens to their own agenda. And very often, and in Think Yourself a Relationship Pro, we explain the 4 different personality styles, and influencers and leaders will be definitely more talking about themselves. Influencers and supporters will be more showing their emotions, while thinkers and leaders will be keeping their emotion. You never really see a leader vulnerable. Very often they will take it in front of everybody and then go in their car, and then they'll have their moment by themselves or at home, right? So they don't show their emotion. So there's 4 different styles of personality that we need to understand. The other people in our team, not to be perceived as arrogant, we need to talk their own language. And one trick that I will give is to always remember that people don't want necessarily to be right. They want to be heard. What do I mean by that? Is that if you're because let's face it, if you're in a leadership position, very often you have more training, more skills. Maybe you see the bigger picture. You're there for a reason. And very often your idea is potentially a good idea. And you might be acting really fast, because leaders like to act fast, while they need to have the thinkers and the supporters that think a little slower. And especially the thinker who will be able to look at all the possibilities and the things that could happen, so that we don't rush into running over a cliff too fast, because the thinker will be like, oh, wait a minute, what if this happens? We need to prepare for that before we open up the valve here. Something might explode. So you need to be able to see things coming. You need to be able to hold back a little bit if you are a leader or an influencer that tend to move fast. And the point here is, how do we make the line between arrogance and confidence? Because as a leader, you're usually very confident that your idea is the best, but still you need to make your rest of your team feeling heard. They don't need their idea to be chosen. They need their idea to be heard. That's it. And even if at the end, and usually when their ideas will be heard, your idea of what you wanted to do anyway will have been changed in the process, because you will take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and then you'll probably still do what you wanted to do, but you will have changed it a little bit because you will have listened to other people. So let's say somebody comes to you with an idea, and I will use an example that is super simple. The teenager goes to their mom and says, I'm going to quit school. So there's two ways that this conversation can happen. Teenagers goes to their mom or their dad and says, hey, dear parents, I'm going to quit school. So the parent may reply, no, you can't do this. This is ridiculous. You have your future in front of you, and you're so smart. You're so brilliant. You can't quit school. So then the teenager thinks, they are not listening to me. They know nothing. I hate their opinion. I'm not listening to them either. Or the conversation can go like this. Then the teenager, right after, let's stay with the first conversation. The teenager will then say, well, I've been working all summer and I made like $1,000, and I like making money, and I think I'm really good, and I'm actually going for an assistant position at my job. So I think I'm going to continue working there. And then the parent goes, oh no, you can't do that with $1,000. You couldn't even pay rent. You couldn't make grocery. Like, you don't understand. It's because you live at home now. And then you of course you're right as the parent. Of course you're right. The teenager should not quit school. $1,000 is not enough to live on. And then you keep going with that path. And the more you keep going, the less the teenager listens to you. Here's the second piece where you're listening. The teenager says, I'm going to quit school. So you turn around and you say, you think you're going to quit school. So you just repeat what they just said and you shut up. And then they say, oh, it's my turn to speak again. Well, yeah, I worked all summer and I made about $1,000. You made $1,000 this summer. Good for you. And you shut up. And then they say, well, yeah, I'm about to become assistant manager even at the grocery store where I'm working. I'm super proud of myself. Oh, you're about to make assistant manager. That's really cool. Wow, like, that's great. And then you shut up. And even if they were telling you, yeah, and on top of that, I think I'm going to start taking drugs and I'm going to do heroin. You want to shake them and say, no, you can't do that. Well, you have to say, okay, so you want to try heroin, do you? And shut up. Even if what they say is perfect nonsense and it's absolutely terrible, you wait until they open the door, because by the third or fourth or fifth sentence, and sometimes it takes a few months, but they will just start thinking, oh my gosh, they're listening. They get me. Oh my gosh, they totally get me, because now you're repeating what they say. So eventually they will say, well, what do you think? Because if you listen to them and you get them, they'll be interested in your opinion. And then they will ask, what do you think? And that's when you'll be able to say your piece. That's when you'll be able to say, well, have you ever considered that $1,000 a month is not enough? Like, did you check at rent prices? And when you live on your own, is this going to be enough? How much money would you think you would need to make in a year? And do you need a degree to be able to have the bigger salaries and blah, 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 right? So that's how you can, you repeat what they just said, you shut up. Even if what they say is nonsense at all, you just repeat it, and then eventually they'll ask for your opinion.
Well, I think this is fascinating, and we've gone way past our time. So my final question today is this one. This conversation has been fascinating, Nathalie, but we have to end it, and I don't want to. So if people want to learn more about what you're doing and how you might be able to help them, how can they reach out to you, contact you, schedule time with you?
Well, I'm happy to offer everyone on the in the audience here a free 15-minute virtual coffee, so we can chat about anything. We can even deal with stuff in 15 minutes. There's time. It's quick. The processes that I use are pretty fast, so we can deal with something even substantial in 15 minutes. So you go to thinkyourself.com/schedule to book a free 15-minute call with me. I also have a confidence guide with 15 keys for confidence, talking about the 6 layers of the brain. So it's questions that you ask yourself for each of these of these levels of a person's self. So that really helps you. So you can download the confidence guide at thinkyourself.com/confidence guide. And you can also contact me through my website, thinkyourself.com, or Nathalie with an H, Nathali at thinkyourself.com. Just send me an email.
All right, fantastic. We'll make sure to put those links in the various descriptions. And Spencer, if people want to learn more about the things that you're doing, how can they best reach out to you?
Thank you, Christian. They can reach me at altiumleadership.com. That's ALIUM leadership.com, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Spencer Horn. You find me there. And Christian, please forgive me for monopolizing so much, because you have so much to offer. How can people find out what you're doing to help them change their stories at Raconto?
Thanks, Spencer. Well, people can find me at on LinkedIn at Christian Napier. You can just look up Christian Napier, you find me. Or you can go to our website, raconto.io. Gosh, I can't even say it. Raconto.io, rakonto.io, or email me, christian@raconto.io. Well, Nathalie, it was a real pleasure to have you on our show today. Thank you so much for carving out the time. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us today as well. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, and we'll catch you again soon. Thank you so much.